Hi, this is Lucy, and today I'm going to be creating some Mother's Day cards using this old Prima paper pad. I really don't like those first couple of pages, so I'll be using those as scraps underneath things. But now I'm just going to sort out what papers I like that go together. It seemed like there was two different types. So this one had more of an orange and blue and yellow, and the other ones had a bit of a burgundy, which I didn't feel they all suited together. So first off, I'm just having a look, and I have a big container full of flowers there. You'll see these are all black, white, grey and green. So I'm just going through and choosing ones, and now I've gone to another big container that has autumn type colours, flowers in it. This makes it a lot easier for me. And then here's some little odds and ends as well that I have in this container. So I'm just choosing a whole bunch of things that go with these papers so that it makes it nice and easy for me to play around and create cards for Mother's Day with some pretty flowers on there. Also ones that I need to use up really, because I've had them for some of them for quite a long time. My sister was kind enough to lend me this Happy Mother's Day die. Thanks, Jen. So I'm using that today as well. I'm not sure where she got it from, but I really like it. And because I sell some of my cards, I do more than one Mother's Day card. And I actually haven't organised my mum's and my mother-in-law's and my stepmother's yet. In Australia, we celebrate Mother's Day in May, and so yeah, I'm just getting organised now. And like, you could make these birthday cards or any other type of feminine sort of cards. It's just 3 different designs today that I'm doing. Now I was really roughly cutting the using the distressing tool, which you can use scissors as well, but I really wanted it really rough rather than just a subtle bit this time. So I'm just popping on some of the items and playing around, trying to figure out, and of course it doesn't stay this way. I do sort of move them around even more until it turns into something that I really like. So I'm using some of this material that I got from Uniquely Creative. It comes in a nice big wad of it, and it lasts for ages because you only really need one layer most of the time. So yeah, I do think I've got about 3 packs, but I'm not sure that I've actually finished one yet. And I also like to use them when I'm photographing my cards at the end as well. I think it gives a soft look to the photos. Anyway, so here I am just sort of bending it over more as well, so it's really textured and gives some depth to the card, seeing as this is a little bit of a vintagey feel and a bit shabby chic. So I always do it where everything sort of overhangs on the cards so that it's nice and easy just to chop it off and make it all even at the end, rather than trying to measure everything first. So I'm just using my double-sided tape, and I've had quite a few queries on, because it's a wider one. It's actually 1.5 centimeters wide, so it is very good and very stabilizing for adding anything to the cards. But I do have a wholesale account, so I'm not sure where else you can buy it. I did have a quick look on Google, and you should be able to buy that. I do have extras because I do buy wholesale. So if anybody is interested in a few different sizes, yeah, please let me know and we can put something together. I also have some of the leaves that are for sale too, that I use often and cut up. So I've just layered the Happy Mother's Day, giving it 3 layers. I did die cut 4, but 3 seemed to be enough. And with the mothers die, I actually cut one of the ends off because I want it to be sitting on the leaf petals, and so it didn't need to be as high as the rest. And I dabbed off the excess glue with a tissue as well, just lightly. I hope you're enjoying my video so far. I know I haven't finished a card yet, but while this bit is self-explanatory, I just wanted to mention that I would love it if you shared my videos with any of your crafting friends, if you think they might be interested in having a look. I mostly create using pattern papers and using up old papers, using uniquely creative papers and kits and collections, and also I love using up scraps as well. So they're the main things that I'll be showing, but I do have some other ideas as well. I will be doing an ombre glitter card idea soon, which I have in my head, and if all goes well, I will show that too. So that's all coming up. What I've done here is just cut some of the, where you get the foam dots, I've used the negative of it because sometimes with those flowers they have quite a heavy bit in the middle, so that way it sits around that and makes them more even on your card. So yeah, although it's adhesive, I still add the glue just to make sure that it sticks well. So the rose gold card is something that I buy wholesale as well, in case I get any queries on that. It's quite heavy, and yeah, I think you can actually buy it in Spotlight, in single sheets and things too. So now I'm just playing around with the composition of where I'd like the other flowers and the little bow to go. I'm not a big fan of those little leaves that come with some of those flowers, so I'll often chop them off or rip them off so that I can add my own leaves to it. So I've changed the flowers around a bit from what originally, how I originally had them, but that always happens. If I find a better way, something else that I like along the way, I'll just change it up. So this card is almost done now. I'm just using some Nuvo drops, and then there's one card down. All 3 of these are different designs, but using the same papers, using a lot of similar items really, but yeah, I almost forgot the apostrophe in the Mother's Day, so just quickly added that on, and then we're on to the next card. So with this one, I've used 2 of those papers, and I've used one stitched rectangle and one without, and I'm just sort of thinking that it needs something behind it, but you know, every time I try, I don't really like it until I come across a bit of a craft paper. That was actually just cardboard packaging, which was quite nice as well, but I decided to just cut a very close border of craft paper, and now I'm using those papers that I didn't like as layers underneath as well, just to layer it up a little bit more and give it a little bit more dimension. So I've just cut a strip, I think it's about 2 centimeter strip of that floral paper, and then bordered that with the craft paper as well. So I'm just playing around with some flowers. I really like that orange flower on this with that floral paper. It just seems to go really nicely. So I've had that flower, I think it might be a Prima one, in my stash for the longest time. So it's really nice to sometimes use these things up and find an actual use where you're really happy with where it's going to go and not just using it up for the sake of it. So I'm just layering all the pieces together. I'll pop this one on that paper first because I want to chop off the sides. I don't want it to go all the way across the card. So it's a very easy card design. I do like to try to show, easy designs sometimes, and then sometimes a little bit more complicated. So I felt like this needed something, and so I've just used my art line pen and just gone around those papers, just very scribbly but very light hand as well. I didn't want it to stand out too much. So I'm using some of those little rosebuds. Does everyone have some of those? I'm sure we all have some of these flowers in our stash as well. With those leaves, they're the ones that I was talking about that I have a lot extra of. And so if anyone was interested in the foam tapes, if you're interested in the leaves as well, I can sell those, as I used to have a business, and so I have some excess stock still left over, and I love using them. They're one of my favourite things still. So I've just added some on. They give a little bit of bling. So I've just die cut the Happy Mother's Day again, but it's too big. So I'm trying to figure out where it might go, and I end up deciding on just using the mother of it, and so I'll need to cut off the S, and then I'm having a look through to see what other little sentiment that I can put with it as well. So in the end I go with this one, and I'm still trying to figure out where it might go. So I use some scrap craft paper from when I was die cutting to use to mount it on. It does have a bit of a bend in it, but you can't tell once you add the sentiment on the top. So I'll pop it down the middle, down the bottom in the end. I think it goes nicer down there. So now I'm just having a look at this Nuvo Drops is the orange. It's like a gel, more of a gel type translucent one, but I thought that it was a little bit too bright and I didn't want it to be too much of the feature, so I've just changed over to these pearl drops and used, I think it's the champagne. If I whack it on the table, I tend to find that it gets a better circle to it. So you'll see close-ups of all these cards at the end of the video and the full cards as well. But on to the third and final card. I'm just layering one layer of the designer paper straight over the top of the card, and then decide to put this one on an angle. So I've just done a little cut, and so that I've got a rough idea, and then I can play around from there. So I'm going to use some more of that paper that I didn't like as a layering tool again. That way I don't have much left by the time I've finished these ones, but I will use those burgundy or the other part of this collection of papers in another video, seeing as I don't want it to get too long. So I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to put in this little corner here, and I'm not a big fan of any of them so far, and I feel like I should have probably mounted that pattern paper onto another one just to give it a little bit of a difference from the background paper. So that's why I've gone around again with my black pen and just scribbled a little bit of a border. So I like that green flower, so I've decided to use that and to use up some more of these rosebuds. And the craft paper didn't really stand out too much, and that's a gold glitter paper, and the black was too much, so I've gone back to the rose gold, and this actually stands out in real life and looks quite nice, and you'll see that in the photos at the end, whereas here it looks like part of the orange florals in that paper, you know, are a similar colour, which you can see the difference quite easily in real life. So just adding some of these, I pop on that stamping block just to hold the die cuts down sometimes when you've glued them. So now I'm just having a look, and I always do it on scrap paper first, and how lucky was that? Did you see the big blob come out of these glitter? It's like a glitter drop, but I've had them for a long time. I think they might be a Kindy Glitz or something, but I'm being really careful because it does all of a sudden just flow out if I'm not careful with it. So that's the last card done, and I'm really glad that you've come to see these cards. Here's some close-ups and the full cards now. I hope you've enjoyed it, and please subscribe if you haven't already, and as I mentioned, I'd love it if you shared this with your friends. That would be great. Bye for now.